I was a person about as far from God as you can get. I was playing probably in about 2 or 3 bands at the time, pretty much out every night, and pretty much what you expect a musician to be doing out, you know, hanging out, drinking, partying, whatever.
I met Willie actually at a bar. We knew the same people, and we met through these people, but it was definitely at a bar, from him playing out at bands. And I wasn't a groupie or anything, but I did know who he was. I heard of him before I met him.
I've been playing bass. I guess I started when I was 18 years old, so that's what, 22 years I've been playing. And I played all over the city. I lived in New York City for a while. I was in bands. Geez, some of the names were like Black Dragon, Rat Salad.
I was talking to a guy who's a professional drummer that lives in Rochester, and he was saying that any drummer would want to play with a guy like Willie Lopez. He said this guy can play anything. He can play rock, he can play funk. This guy, he can play, pretty much do anything he wants to do. He said, but not only that, on top of that, he's just an awesome guy.
When I was with Avalon, we lived in New York City, trying to make it as rock stars. That didn't work out. But, you know, as typical with that lifestyle, it was, it is, you know, it is what you hear it is. It was a guy that I was right in the middle of it. I used bass for my own pleasure, and that's why I used it for me. And that's what I've always done. I had a couple kids with Jill. We were living together, and finally at one point, I figured it was time to get married. Again, there was no spiritual influence on that decision. It was just the right thing to do, I felt at the time. Jill suggested that we do it through a church, and I didn't really care. So we went through First Bible, met a pastor there. I said, whatever you do, I don't want to hear about this Jesus stuff. You know, we'll talk about marriage, how important it is, but I don't want to hear about Jesus. Don't push that stuff on me. So for the next 6 weeks, that's all we talked about, was the gospel, my need for the gospel, my need for Christ. Each day, each week that I went, I remember just really feeling torn. Believe it or not, my drinking increased during that time period because I was so overwhelmed by what I knew was truth. And as the day got closer to my marriage, each week I'd meet with Mike, and each week it'd fall back to the gospel and my need for Christ. And as I thought about it more and more, it just really troubled me. I remember just thinking, what am I going to do with this? What am I going to do with the truth? He looked me square in the face and said, Willie, you know everything there is to know about the gospel. Do you want to give your life to Christ? And I remember thinking, I didn't say it, I remember thinking, I'm getting married. Don't I got enough problems right now? You're gonna hit me with this? I got too many decisions. I go, come on. But I remember thinking to myself, he's right. I have to. Today's the day. Today was the day of salvation for me. And I said, yeah, I do want to give my life to Christ. And I remember praying with him. And I remember him saying, I remember feeling sick to my stomach because I'm like, I can't do this. I told him, I said, I can't be a Christian. He goes, you don't have to worry. He goes, you just read your Bible, pray, and God will take care of the rest. The biggest difference between playing in church and leading people, worshiping God, and playing in clubs or that whole scene is, you know, when you play in clubs, it's all about yourself. It's how much accolades you can bring to yourself. And especially in my case, I was very an egomaniac. Even the band, any band I was in, I was always trying to bring the attention always to myself. But to be in church and leading God's people, there's a peacefulness, there's a sense of worth, and there are times that you close your eyes and you're playing and and you hear God's people singing that you know there's an open channel to the throne of God. You know it. And to be a part of that, you know, I get goosebumps. You know, that God can use me after I've abused that instrument. And God can still say, even though you've done that with it, I'm still going to use it. That's probably my greatest joy.
If I could use one word to describe Willie, it would be the word humble. He's an incredibly skilled guy that doesn't flaunt what he has, and he just wants to use this gift that he has for God and not for himself.
I'm so thankful for playing. I love it. It is a joy. It is a joy to see people worship. It is a joy to be able to lead people to the throne of God, to worship Him, and being able to finally use the talent that God gave me and use it for Him. I tried doing it before and it was just muddled. And the opportunity to do it again and what I believe do it right and sincere has been awesome.